Guys, this is Rachel Cassidy with the Division of Drinking Water. It's our monthly operator webinar, and we'll go for 30 minutes, and we will save this on our YouTube account. So if you want to share it afterwards, you will be able to share it. It is being recorded. So we've got Marie Owens, our illustrious director of the Division of Drinking Water, and Colt Smith is here with me today as well. We are going to get started because we have a lot of exciting things to talk about. So reminders to get started on reminders. Our training calendar online, if you need CEUs or you have questions about where you're at with CEUs, go to our training calendar online, and I'll show you on WaterLink in just a minute where you can check out your CEUs. But it's August, the end of the year is coming, so pay attention to your CEUs and get the training that you need to sign up for. Sampling reminders, the seasonal startup. If you have a water system that is not operational year-round, so that's what we call operating seasonally because you're only open during a specific season, you need to make sure you go through the seasonal startup procedures and submit those to the division. And then the sample plans, that means your coliform sample plans, those are due by September 30th of this year. Lead copper sampling season is right now. So if you have lead and copper samples that you have to take this year, please take them by September 30th. And we go by the date the sample is taken, not by the date we get a copy of the results. And then if you have disinfection byproduct sampling, if your system does that once a year, we prefer that you do that in the warmest months of the year, which EPA tells us is in August. So that's a recommendation for that yearly DBP sampling. We're not going to hit you with a violation if you do it in September, or if you did it in July, it's just a recommendation. Okay, Nathan Lundstedt is an engineer here at the division, and he is getting his graduate degree at the University of Utah, and he notified us that there are some water modeling classes for the fall semester that are looking for 4 small water systems that are in need of modeling to use for a student group project. So if you have water modeling that you need, you want to contact Nathan. His number is 801-536-0039. And then I have another reminder. It's not on the PowerPoint, but the reminder is that we have a public comment open for the draft fee schedule. It started August 14th. And we have a public hearing for this. It ends September 12th at 5 p.m. And a public hearing has been scheduled for oral comments on the draft fee schedule, and that hearing is Tuesday, September 12th at 2 p.m. here in the Salt Lake City DEQ offices at the boardroom on the main floor. So those are our announcements and reminders. And so let's get to the heart of the matter. We are going to talk about lead sampling in schools. This has been a hot topic in the news. It's something that here at the division we've been working hard on, and that I'm sure many of you are aware of. So I want to talk first about the history behind lead sampling in schools. First of all, lead sampling in schools is not required. We can't require it. We don't have a regulation for it. So keep that in mind as we go through this presentation. It is not required. It's not going to show up on your monitoring schedule. We're not going to get we're not going to do violations for it. It's just, it's a recommendation. Mm-hmm. So history, the lead copper rule, as it is written, only accepts samples taken at residences or at multiple family dwellings, which I'm sure you are aware of. So when you do your lead and copper sampling, you're used to going around to different homes and dealing with working with the residences and making sure they're getting those first straw bottles for you. So in January of this year, EPA recommended to all school superintendents that they sample for lead inside of the school facilities. And later this year, Utah DEQ and our Utah Department of Health have sent letters recommending the same to several school districts. And so some samples have been taken, and some samples that were taken this spring, early summer, showed lead levels over the 15 part per billion action level, which I'm sure as water operators, many of you have seen samples that come in either at or above the 15, just in your normal operations. Sometimes when the samples have been taken first draw from a location that hasn't been flushed in a very long time, that's something that you have seen before, but it's definitely something that opened our eyes, and we decided to follow up. So following up, of course, is more testing, because as you are familiar, we typically never take action as far as boil orders or things based on one set of samples. It's usually two sets of samples taken at different points in time when we start taking action. So always the first step is more testing and confirmation, and then remediation where the confirmation samples show that there are levels over 15. So who is all involved? We got to talk about who the characters are before we get through most of the story. The characters are obviously you guys, the water systems, and us, the Division of Drinking Water, but we're dealing with school districts, the superintendents at all of the schools, and the schools themselves. Obviously, we're dealing with protecting the public health of the people in the buildings, the parents, the children, the school employees. We've got our local health departments who are very informed and very aware of what's going on and can help us out and help you out as well. And us, the division, the Department of Health has been very much involved and extremely helpful. And then of course, EPA, we report directly to EPA Region 8. And so we've been communicating with them. So these are kind of all the players. And there's other players that I didn't get, I'm sure, in my last minute diagram, but I just wanted to throw it out there of who's all involved right now. So what are schools actually doing? They've obviously, superintendents have gone in, and some water systems have helped superintendents go in and take these initial tests. So initial tests is what they can do, and then continue to test once they get the samples back. Now, if the tests come back at the 15 or above the 15, the schools with these results are doing the short-term solution, which you are very well aware of, which is flushing. Obviously, you have experienced where if you get a high lead or copper result from a first draw site, flushing is usually a great fix. I've seen that over the many, many decades that I've been here, that flushing does work. So flushing is a short-term solution, and it's something that is being used. Obviously, the fixtures at high lead locations inside the school facilities can be replaced, or the faucets or the plumbing can actually be disconnected physically from the distribution system in the facility. And then, of course, treatment is always an option. And then notices, posting notices at faucets that have returned high levels of lead is something that can be done, which includes, taping off a faucet if needed. And then of course, providing bottled water. So keep in mind, as we talk about lead in schools, the Utah Division of Drinking Water is using the 15 part per billion action level, parts per billion being the same as micrograms per liter, standard for schools and water systems. So keep that in mind. We're using the 15 across the board. So, and then of course, more testing and continued remediation where levels are over 15 parts per billion. So what's actually happening out there in Utah schools? Well, one school tested below the action level while the school was in session, and then school let out for the summer, and the school tested again during the summertime after the water had been stagnant, and they were significantly higher, the lead results, than the action level. So the school flushed the system, they took resamples, and then the follow-up samples didn't detect any lead in the drinking water. So what the school plans to do going forward, and this is very appropriate, is to flush the system regularly and resample on a certain basis to make sure that the drinking water stays safe and that they don't get any of that stagnant water with those high levels or levels above the 15 in exposure to the staff and the students. Another school sampled their drinking water and the results were above the action levels. So the school went through and identified the plumbing that was responsible for those elevated lead levels, and they actually replaced that plumbing over the summertime, which is a great time to do it. So what are the results in lead results in schools so far? So you can get these online. These are live. They're on waterlink.utah.gov on the public page. And you just go to the public page and click Lead in Schools Actions. And I'm just going to go there and walk you through it. Okay, here's Waterlink. And you just need to go to the public page. You can see I'm not logged in. If I was logged in, it would say, hi, Rachel. What's up? So you go to click on public, and then here under Lead in Schools is the actions report. So click on it. And by the way, this report is giving us some grief currently in Explorer. So I recommend Chrome or Firefox. I'm in Chrome right now. So you click Run Report, and you can see if you scroll all the way down, there's many pages. There's 38 pages. But you can just do a search. If you know your school districts, you can search for your school districts. My kids are in Canyons district, so I'm going to type in Canyons. And, whoa. There we go. There's my district, and I can scroll through. You're going to see in this results over 15 micrograms per liter column, you're going to see three options. Either the data was submitted and it's above, or the data was submitted and it was below, like right here, or we have no data yet submitted. If the results are above, you will see actions, comments, and date last updated. So you would be able to scroll through and look at that. And what I recommend, if you're savvy in Excel at all, is you can click on export to CSV. It will download the report, and you can use your Excel skills to play with it. I don't know which screen. Oh, there we go. Let's see. I'm going to pull it up. Here's what it looks like when you download it into Excel. And you can go through and filter your data if you just want to look at, like if you want to see what schools do we not have data. Now, keep in mind, if this says no data submitted, that does not mean that these schools have not sampled. That just means that the Division of Drinking Water does not currently have lead data for that particular facility. So if you know of a school that has performed the lead sampling and the data is available and they would like to share it with us, it's not required to, then you can talk to them and we can work together about getting the data submitted. The whole idea is to share the information and keep everyone updated. So go through the report, check it out. Let me know if you have questions, comments, ideas to make it better. This is version 7,000, and I'm sure we'll get to version 8,000 and make it even better. So check out this report. Look for your districts. Look for your county if you want to zone in on specific schools. And definitely please keep in mind that just because it says no data submitted does not mean that the facility actually hasn't sampled. Okay, so we've talked about the report on Waterlink. Let's talk about you guys. What can water system operators do about lead sampling in schools? Well, first of all, you want to know your school districts and then get to know names and contact information for the superintendents of the school districts that your water system serves. And then you can, it's not required, but many water system operators have helped collect samples at the school if asked. Keep in mind that the bottles that the laboratories will give you for schools for lead is a 250 milliliter bottle, not the 1 liter bottle that you're used to using. So don't let that scare you away. But you can do it. It's not required. But if you need information about who your districts are or your superintendents are, we'd love to help out, as well as your local health departments have that information as well. So there's lots of players that can assist you with that. So once you get that contact information, you can talk to the school. Obviously, your liability ends at the meter. as with regular lead and copper sampling. So you can get samples at the meters, and that definitely helps. To at least get a whole idea, a whole picture of what is the lead level going into the building, if anything at all. Okay, the other thing you can do is provide technical assistance with flushing. Obviously, if you're a water system operator, you know how to flush better than me, better than anybody. This is your wheelhouse. So you can assist with flushing, you can assist with further sampling. One thing that's very handy, you never thought this would come in handy, but your consumer confidence report will come in handy. You can make sure that that's current, make sure it's available, and we can help you with that if you have questions about your consumer confidence report. And then obviously know the most current lead results in the distribution system. The last time you sampled, where you sampled, was it close to any of the school facilities in your water system? Get out a map and map them. If you want to add to those lead samples in the distribution system, there's nothing stopping you from going above and beyond the regulation. So if you want to beef up those samples, feel free to do that. Okay, so what is the Division of Drinking Water's role with lead schools and sampling? Well, first of all, we are a great data warehouse. It's great to have the data submitted to us. It doesn't get reported up to EPA because these facilities are listed as inactive facilities in our database, and the data is listed as special. It's not listed as for compliance. So we are able to warehouse the data and share the data, which is useful. And then we can help you out with information about the lead regulation if you have questions on is it changing and how to stay current with the future EPA lead regulations, and we can help keep you up to date on that. Currently, we don't have any information about updates on the lead regulation from EPA. We can help you with technical assistance. We have a great field services section here at the division, a bunch of people who are very adept and willing to come out and help you and assist in the field. So we can help with technical assistance, and then obviously communication. We have had some experience with things like boil orders and other water quality issues, so we can help communicate with you to the public on what this data means, what confirmation data is, and what flushing actually does, and how that helps bring the lead levels lower. So what is EPA doing? Well, they have this great document. It's called the 3 T's for reducing lead in drinking water. So the 3 T's stand for training, testing, and telling. The training means we train the schools and the public on health effects of lead, and we establish partnerships with all of the players who have a stake in this. And then testing, obviously, helping with sampling plans. When you're going in to test a school, you want to test the faucets that are being used for drinking water, not necessarily the custodial closet, unless, of course, it's been flushed the day before. So helping pick and identify appropriate sample sites is helpful for them. Talking to the schools and superintendents about the labs, telling them about the lab that you typically use, and then helping out with sampling procedures, because as you know, the lead sampling procedures are for straw, so it's a little bit different. And telling. So telling is communicating with the public. How do you disseminate public information? What's the appropriate timing? What's the best way to throw in all of the content? And then it actually has really good examples of public notice. Here's an example right here. This is in the 3 T's document from EPA of a public notice. You can go through and read it. And it's really useful because it will help you, sorry, there's WaterLink. It will help you answer questions that you maybe not have thought of before reading the document. Sometimes you read through these public notices and you're like, oh my goodness, I should post that because the public's gonna ask it, and it's a good question to answer. So here's the actual 3 T's, and take a look at it. If you just do a Google search on 3 T's for lead, EPA, it'll pop up. And if you can't find it, send me an email. I'll get it to you. But it's a great document and definitely worth the read. If you want to skim through it, that's great, but you've got to, for me, you've got to read the appendices. The appendices are extremely helpful, and they give good examples. So it's only 100 pages, a little light reading, no big deal. Very useful, very helpful. We've used it here at the division. Here's another chart from the 3Ts document. It's a remediation flow chart. It's very useful, of course. You know, you can walk through and answer the questions, yes, no, and go through and kind of help guide yourself as you guide the water systems in facilitating remediation if necessary. EPA has a great website. I'm just going to let this sit here for a minute. If you try to click on it on the YouTube link, it's not going to take you to it, but you can Google drinking water requirements for states and public drinking water systems and kind of drill down to the lead in drinking water in schools and childcare facilities. It's got the 3Ts information, related links. It's a useful site. And then the Division of Drinking Water, we have also put together a website that went live on Wednesday, I believe. And so it's great because it's Utah specific, and I'm actually going to take you there really quick. So, I should show you how I got here, shouldn't I? So if you go to the main DEQ page and if you click on Classic View, so deq.utah.gov, click on Classic View, and then it's here in the ribbon, Protecting Schools Drinking Water, Learn More, just click here, and it will take you to our lead sampling in schools page. So the first link right here takes you to that WaterLink report, and you can just click Run, and it'll pull up. It takes a minute. Be patient with it because there are so many pages. So it'll go through and it'll talk about everything we've talked about today. What is Utah doing? What are the schools in Utah doing? What is the division doing? Information for parents and families. This is very helpful and something that if I were in your shoes, I would steal for future use because you never know when it's very handy to have information for drinking water safety for homes and lead on hand to provide to your customers. Maybe it's something you want to throw in your consumer confidence report. That's not a requirement. That's just talking generally. Anyway, so this is a great webpage. Go through it, take some time. We've got template letters that you can grab and a lot of information. If you have questions as you go through here, obviously contact the division. Let us know what we can help you with. And anything that this website does not address, obviously it's a dynamic website. It's constantly being updated. Let us know what we can add to it to make it better for you. Okay, so in conclusion, this is my part, and then I'm going to have Marie take some time to talk to you about lead in schools. But in conclusion, the schools in Utah are testing, and I'm sure you've seen on the news that some districts have hired specific employees just to go around and sample for lead in schools. So they're taking it very seriously, and data is coming in fast and furious. So you want to know the schools that your water system provides water to, know the school districts, and we can help you out with that. Make sure your consumer confidence report is current and correct. We can help you with that. Definitely get a copy of the EPA 3Ts guidance document. It's extremely helpful. And look up the data on our WaterLink report and scroll through it. Let us know if there's data not submitted that you have or that the schools have that needs to be submitted. We can help with that. And of course, you guys are the water operators. You've been trained, you've been certified. So provide technical assistance where you can. And then the last thing is participate in all the communications. Obviously, if you're listening to this webinar, you're interested in the communication aspect of it and wanting to get involved in the conversation. So that's something that we want to facilitate with you as well. So contacts, I'm Rachel. As you know, there's my email. Emily Frary is our lead and copper rule manager in the rule section here at the division. And the main number is the 536-4200. So those are the great ways to get a hold of us. We have a whole work group here at the division full of engineers, geologists, scientists, a whole gaggle of people ready to help you out with lead in schools. It's not just one or two people. The entire division has come together to work on this. So if you call the main number and you just let the people know that you have a question for whoever's available on lead in schools, chances are you're going to find somebody from the work group who's actually here. So we will be able to help you. So that's my information. And then Marie's here to talk to you for a little bit more about her perspective and where we're at and where we're going. And we'll see. I'll have Colt check if there's any questions. Okay.
So far, so good. But the chat is open. If anybody has questions, we can answer them through there.
Yes.
Thank you, Rachel. So Rachel pretty much covered everything there. If you've got questions, make sure you type them in and let us know as we go. And if you have questions as this program rolls out, please contact us. We anticipate that with the media coverage we received last week, that we'll be able to get more of the districts on board with sampling. We've intentionally asked them not to sample until their school buildings come online. We don't necessarily want samples that are 3, 4, 5 weeks old and have been sitting there the whole time. So we're expecting that we're just going to get a ton of data coming at us over the next few weeks. And as Rachel mentioned, we've got a whole group together. We're going to be committed to getting that data in, refreshing this report online as quickly as possible, and communicating heavily with the school districts and the local health departments. And then we'll see where we go after that. We've got 900 schools, approximately, individual buildings throughout the state. We're hoping to get samples from every single one of those. We are requesting at least 2 data points per building. So we'll be looking at 2,000 data points, and that's should give us enough data to really see what's going on and decide where we're going to go from there. As Rachel mentioned, this is a voluntary program, so there's nothing that's required at this point, but we will be looking at policy, and data makes the best policy. So we're going to wait until the data comes in, look at what's going on there, and see if there's any policy that we need to look at to protect the kids in the schools. As she mentioned, we're not tying these to your compliance at all as a public water system, but you also are aware of the fact that water sitting in a pipe for long periods of time starts to degrade. And so we're looking at whether there's a problem in these large school buildings that we weren't aware of just from the lead and copper sampling. Do we have any questions at all?
We do not.
You guys are too easy. No questions, no hard hitters.
If you think of one later, you can always reach out and email us and we'll get back to you.
That's true. That's true. So you guys let us know, obviously, if things come up. Another email address you can use that I forgot to put on the slides is the DDW reports at utah.gov email. You can send emails, questions there for lead in schools. Oh, and I promised you I was going to show you where you can see your CEUs online. So, WaterLink, your best friend. Go to the public facing page, and your CEUs is the first link at the top. So you can click on here and put in whatever information you know about your certification, and you'll be able to look up your CEUs from there. And make sure you check out the Lead in Schools Actions report and keep us posted if you have ideas on how to make it better, questions, comments, concerns. So you guys, this webinar went by really fast. Just a lot to talk about. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast. Sorry if I did. So I know you want CEUs, and we want to give them to you for listening into the webinar. It's in the comments section below. We're not going to put the link in anymore because it was just too much of a mess. But click on the link.
The link in the presentation. You have to click on the link below.
The link below.
The link is below. We are putting it there. We're just not putting it on a slide for you to copy down.
So you can access that link. If you have problems getting to the link, send me an email. I'll send it to you back. And then our next webinar is that we usually try to do the fourth Monday of the month. We got a little off schedule because of the old eclipse yesterday. Nobody wanted, well, I didn't want to be doing a webinar during an eclipse. So we had a little bit of a change in schedule. And don't forget, those of you who are members of Rural Water has their fall conference next week up in Layton. Want to make sure we mention that as well. So head up the conference next week. The division will be there. And